She crowned her goodness with humility. No one who reads Isabel's letters and reviews her actions with any serious reflection can doubt the profundity and sincerity of her humility, revealed with special clarity by all that we know of her relationship to her first confessor, Bishop Hernando de Talavera. It was before him that she gladly knelt upon making her first confession to him. It was to him that she wrote when her husband lay in the shadow of death following the assassination attempt of December 1492, blaming herself and her sins for what had happened to her husband. She knew and practiced all the cardinal virtues: prudence, justice, temperance, and fortitude, in an exalted, indeed heroic manner. She maintained them in the face of an avalanche of personal grief in her last 7 years that would have destroyed a weaker soul, and used that grief to bring her closer to God. Her contemporaries uniformly and repeatedly testified to her extraordinary virtues, as have most historians since. Even those who vehemently disagree with some of her policies as queen, such as her establishment of the Inquisition in Spain, cannot deny her spotless moral integrity, her total commitment to the Catholic faith and its moral teachings, the harmony of her life with her belief, and the justice and benevolence of her rule in general. Some have argued that more of the credit for the achievements of her reign belongs to Fernando than is customarily accorded him. That would have pleased Isabel, who was always more than willing to give her beloved husband credit for anything they did together. But in evaluating such claims, the historian need look no farther than a comparison of the record of Fernando without Isabel to their record together to see where the greatest credit is due. Isabel's life and virtues have particular relevance to an age more and more characterized by flight from faith, morality, chastity, and responsibility. Where prayer is neglected, humility is doubted, and many people become very uneasy when contemplating real and uncompromising justice. Every age needs to be reminded especially of the virtues it lacks, but wherever possible, through a personality not only holy, but at least in some significant ways congenial to the time. Many aspects of Isabel's personality are of timeless appeal. Her sincerity, her forthright honesty, her clear and direct mind and speech, her warmth and deep feelings, her love for her husband and her children. Her achievements as a woman will surely appeal to an age which is giving special emphasis to the scope of women's potential to contribute to society and to do well most, if not all, the things that men have customarily done in the past. Her care and concern for foreign peoples of a different race will strike a chord in a century which has lavished its care and concern upon such people, particularly in the past 30 years. Yet the memory of Isabel must be as incompatible with compromise on any fundamental tenet of faith or morals as Isabel herself would have been. So that is a picture that history gives us of this great queen. Now let us look at a few particular episodes in her life and some background to it that should make this emerge even more clearly to our eyes. Let's look first at a map of Spain. There were two kingdoms in Spain, of the two principal kingdoms, called Castile and Aragon. Isabel was the Queen of Castile, and Fernando, her husband, was the King of Aragon. Here is Castile here, the northern part of Spain, the central part, and stretching down into the south, much the largest kingdom in what's now Spain. Aragon is over here in the northeastern part of Spain, and when Isabel and Fernando were married, this united these two kingdoms, making up the greater part of Spain as it now exists. This southern part of Spain, or this really southeastern region here, was included in the Kingdom of Granada. The Kingdom of Granada, which was still controlled by the Muslims or the Moors, who had conquered most of Spain nearly 800 years before and had gradually been driven out, except for this one area, which Isabel believed that she must reconquer to complete the reconquest of Spain from these invaders. So this was one of the principal objectives of her reign. But of course, first of all, she had to become the Queen of Spain, the Queen of Castile. Her father had been the King of Castile, but there were many disputes over the succession and many difficulties and dangers through which Isabel, as a princess, had to pass until finally, with the death of her half-brother, Henry IV, in 1474, her succession was assured, and she arranged quickly for her coronation. This took place on the very day following her half-brother's death. The disordered condition of Spain made it necessary to proceed very quickly to this important ceremony. And it took place in an atmosphere of enthusiasm. Her people loved her, they had confidence in her, and her rule was quickly established with much support from the people of Castile. She was challenged from Portugal, and there was a war that followed, which Isabel and Fernando won. There are so many stories one could tell to illustrate the courage, the goodness, the amazing ability of Isabel to reach her people and to get them to follow her, to give them the kind of leadership they needed. But I think one of the most impressive and memorable concerns the city and the castle of Segovia, where Isabel had lived for some time before her coronation. Her coronation actually occurred there, and after the war with Portugal was mostly over, there was suddenly a rebellion in the city of Segovia, and the rebels captured the great castle, one of the most impressive sights in Spain to this day, the great castle of Segovia. The rebels captured at least part of it. They gained control of a substantial part of the building, and Isabel's 6-year-old daughter, who had been left there in the castle under the care of special guardians, was in another part of the castle, and the rebels controlled one part and she was in another part. So she was in very great danger. Isabel received this news, and she immediately got on horseback with just 2 companions, Cardinal Mendoza and the Count of Benavente, just 3 people. They rode about 65 miles, only made one stop, came up to the castle of Segovia, which is just about impregnable. And she came to the entrance to the castle and demanded to be admitted. There were only 2 people with her, and she said, "I am the Queen of Castile. I have the right to be here. You know that I do. I will do justice here. Open the gate and let me in." And you can see on your screens what that gate looked like, the moat, the drawbridge, the enormous wall. How easy it would have been to have kept her out. But the rebels simply collapsed upon seeing her. They made no attempt to prevent her entrance. She assured the people that she would hear their complaints and do justice, and rescued her daughter. So this is a striking illustration of how Isabel in action could lead her people and save and rescue her daughter and get out of a situation that was extremely threatening.